Alright. So this is a video I wasn't necessarily expecting to have to make, but I will admit, I did forget a couple Sonic designs in the last video that I maybe shouldn't have. So to make sure I didn't forget any more, I overcompensated for my lack of Sonic designs in the first video and added 50 more designs. Some of which aren't even Sonic, but I needed to cover all my bases, so if there's any more that I'm missing in this video, let me know, and I guess a part 3 will be in order. I am committed to ranking every Sonic design, all of which are my own opinion of course, so if you disagree, well then feel free to make your own tier list using the one I am, cause I'll have this one linked in the description down below. So without any further time wasting, I'm just gonna jump right in and start ranking, because I have twice the amount of designs to rank in this video than in the first one. And speaking of which, if you haven't seen part 1, go watch it, because I'm probably gonna skim over some things that I said in that video, but if you're just here for the tier list part, here's a refresher of my rankings from the first video, just so you can get an idea of where we're at here. Anyways, onto the first design. So, something that I may have forgotten on my first tier list was Supersonic. But then for this tier list, I went down the rabbit hole of finding every single Supersonic design, so I hope you like Supersonic, because half of this video is just Supersonic. And to start us off, we've got Supersonic's first appearance from Sonic 2. And if you've seen my previous video, you know I like Sonic 2's base Sonic design, so of course Supersonic is also going into the S tier. Everything here is incredibly iconic, and I'm sure you can see just how cool he is, and you probably know it too. So this one was an easy S tier. And on a different note, the second Supersonic design we've got is actually the Fleetway Comics version of Supersonic. Now I think the concept of an uncontrollable, rage-filled Supersonic is definitely a cool one, but I also think that should maybe be limited to a separate form, or at least just not how Supersonic always is. I haven't read any of the Fleetway comics, so if that's not how he always is, then I'm sorry. But in terms of his design, well, he just kinda looks like an angry version of classic Sonic from Sonic Generations, so I think I'll put him into the C tier. Not the worst design, but he might be the weakest in terms of Supersonic designs for me. Now for a sorta combo design, Toei Sonic. Or you could also call it Sonic Mania Adventures design, since they're both pretty similar. And really, by extension, you can also include Sonic Mania's normal Sonic sprite. So when you put all that together, you get an incredible S tier Sonic design. I think Toei Sonic looks great, and even Tyson Hesse's classic Sonic design looks really good. Honestly, all of Tyson Hesse's Sonic designs look amazing. We might not have even gotten the Sonic movie redesign if not for him. And his Sonic designs for the animated shorts all look really cool, but that's getting off track. So for now, Toei/Sonic Mania Sonic is an S tier Sonic design. Time for some more Supersonic again, this time from Sonic 3. Save the and Knuckles for just a bit. And I think this is yet another S tier Supersonic design. There's quite a few Supersonic designs that I tend to like more over some of the base Sonic designs. Not all, just some. But that's because he's a glowing, golden, ultra powerful form for Sonic. And I've always just liked Supersonic because of that. Realistically, he's got a lot of the design changes from Sonic 3, but I just like him better. So, S tier it is for me. And now for a potentially controversial one? Oh yeah, the and Knuckles can come back now. I feel like I've only started seeing this sentiment recently, or at least the past few years with the hype around Sonic Frontiers, but apparently some people don't like Hypersonic? Well, not me. I think Hypersonic is one of the coolest other forms of Sonic besides Super, so of course he's going into the S tier. I guess I get the power creep arguments and all that, but also, why does it even matter that much? I just like seeing powerful Rainbow Hedgehog fighting galactic threats in space, but I don't really want to get into that here, maybe a different video. But in terms of his design, Hypersonic is an incredibly strong S tier design for me. Onto our second non-Supersonic design, it's Sonic from the OVA. I think this design looks really cool. It feels very Sonic 3 inspired, which isn't a bad thing at all. And honestly, I think if he had some longer spikes, I could see him being in the S tier, but that's about the only thing holding him back. So I'm going to put this design into the A tier. Again, I really like this design. Also, the animation in the OVA is just fun to watch, but he looks like he just got a haircut or something. Seriously, Sonic, just let the spikes grow out a bit and you'll be golden. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. A Sonic that is golden, though, is Supersonic from Sonic the Fighters, who I'll put right alongside OVA Sonic in the A tier. This design feels like a near-perfect recreation of Supersonic from Sonic 3, but in 3D. I think the only real issue I have with him is that he's not very smooth or glowy, but he still stays in the A tier, just because he's awesome. Most Supersonics get special privileges, in case you didn't know. Can you tell I like Supersonic? Up next is the first B tier of the list, Supersonic from Sonic R. This one has that classic Sonic charm to him, but he's just a bit too low poly for me. If he had some more detail, I'd probably bump him up into the A tier alongside Supersonic from Sonic the Fighters, but since he follows the very low poly Sonic R style, I'm gonna have to place him into the same tier as his base form. Now for a last minute addition that I only really added because I didn't want people saying I forgot it, so here it is. Classic Ultrasonic from the Archie comics. Now I'll just be completely honest here, I haven't read very much of the Archie comics either, and the ones that I have read certainly aren't the older ones, so I don't really have much to go off of here other than his design. I don't think it's too terrible, I'll put him into the B tier, but otherwise, it's basically just normal Sonic with some sparkles and atom ring thingies, so not a full design change like Super Sonic. Sonic Adventure Super Sonic is one that I like. Yes, I know I've said that a lot, get used to it. But being completely honest, I think I prefer the normal Sonic design in Sonic Adventure over Super Sonic this time. I've always preferred how modern Sonic looks, with all the spikes up, rather than the Shadow style one where the top one stays down, but it's still Super Sonic at the end of the day, so he goes into the A tier at least. I also don't know how I feel about the super shiny look he's got going on, because I both like and dislike it, so it kinda just cancels out to be something that I don't really mind. So yeah, A tier Super Sonic design, but A tier is still A tier. And for the first D tier on this list, we've got Sonic from Sonic Underground. If you really want to know why, go watch my last video, or just look at the other Sonic designs in D tier. I don't like the Mohawk, and while I do think it does at least look better in this show than the others, it's still the Mohawk. Now to completely contradict what I just said about Super Sonic and SA1, I'm putting SA2 Super Sonic into the S tier. I'll let you see if you can find out why. Maybe I was just bored? Maybe I misclicked? Maybe I just like the soap shoes? Who could really know? And to complement that previous ranking, I'm also putting Sonic Adventure DX Super Sonic into the A tier, so maybe that will help you find out the answer to the previous ranking. But in terms of this design, well, I ranked base Sonic Adventure DX Sonic in the B tier just because I thought his design was a bit strange, but Super Sonic is still Super Sonic at the end of the day, so I can roll with this. Moving back onto some 2D Supersonicness, we've got Super Sonic from the Sonic Advance games. Now this ranking is 100% biased because I just absolutely love how cool this sprite work looks in Sonic Advance 2, and I also think that this is the best depiction of Super Sonic in 2D, so that means it gets an S tier from me. This blend of a more modern Super Sonic with the adventure era spikes actually fits really well in my opinion, which is why I prefer it over the SA1 and SADX Supersonics. Now for a one-stop break from Super Sonic, it's Sonic X coming in with another normal Sonic design. One that is so obviously S tier that I don't think I even need to say why. I know the animation can be a bit iffy from time to time in Sonic X, but I'm not going over the animation quality here, just the way his design looks, which is of course absolutely amazing. It's like the perfect blend of SA2 Sonic and modern Sonic, a great choice if I do say so myself. And if that design was in the S tier, do I really have to explain why Super Sonic from Sonic X is also going into the S tier? I mean, come on, the Sonic series has so many elements of shonen anime built into it, and actually seeing his super form in an anime is hands down one of the coolest things ever. Easy S tier. Okay, so following the logic of those last two designs, if you expect Dark Sonic to be in the S tier too, well, you'd be absolutely correct. But this again is another extremely biased opinion, because I've seen so many different renders and fan art of Dark Sonic outside of Sonic X that it's kind of warped my perception of him, but in a good way. In terms of Dark Sonic's actual design and appearance in Sonic X, well, we only get like 10 seconds to actually look at him, but those are some of the coolest 10 seconds in all of Sonic X. Moving on from Sonic X now, next up is Super Sonic from Sonic Heroes. And honestly, I kinda struggle to place this design into either the A or S tier. I feel like if there was an A+ tier, it'd be perfect there, because I do really like the design, and I do think it's better than SA1 Super Sonic, but the shininess of his design kinda throws me off a bit. I think I'm ultimately gonna put this design into the S tier, but just know that it's not because I think it's the best Super Sonic design per se, but a really good one. Sonic Rider's Super Sonic design follows a lot of the same design choices and things that I said about the first one, so if you want to know why this one is going into the B tier, that's why. It's not that I hate Sonic wearing clothes or anything, trust me, you'll see later, but I just don't really love the way he looks. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean I dislike the design at all, because I do like it, but it's just not my absolute favorite one. Okay, before you all gather your torches and pitchforks, just let me explain this one for a second. Now we all know Sonic Man is an S tier character in terms of character and writing and like everything else, but when I'm talking Sonic the Hedgehog designs, well, this is just a guy. He has no hedge or hog, even though he is definitely the best Sonic character in his own right, but unfortunately, I don't think I could see him curling into a ball and doing a spin dash. C tier Sonic design, S tier character design though. Now I know I put Sonic 06 Sonic design in the B tier, but for whatever reason, I just really like the way his super form looks in this game, especially that CGI cutscene when he transforms. Anyways, S tier. definite S tier. I think it might be the spikes, and also the way he glows. It just looks really cool. Sonic from Super Smash Bros. Brawl isn't too bad. I mean, sure, he looks a bit too over-detailed maybe, but that doesn't really bring his design down at all, so I'll go with an A tier for this one. Now, if only he'd get an updated moveset for the next Smash game, if there even is one. At least let Sakurai rest a little while longer, if there is. And for that same reason, I'm gonna put Brawl Supersonic into the A tier as well. Pretty cool design, not the best, but as I've already said like 100 times in this video, that doesn't mean I dislike it either. Finally, time for another super form that isn't supersonic. This time it's Darkspine Sonic from Sonic and the Secret Rings. I'll be honest, I don't think this is my favorite super form for Sonic. Yes, he's got the no eyes look from Dark Sonic, but that's not the only thing that made Dark Sonic cool, and the rest of Darkspine's design just looks kinda strange. He's purple, and got the car stripes, and I think no shoes? Wait, is he wearing shoes? Or gloves? Okay, I'm putting him into the B tier and moving on before I keep finding out new things that I don't want to about this design. Unleashed Supersonic, or I guess just modern Supersonic really. S. S tier. It's just like normal modern Sonic. S tier. S tier. S tier. Supersonic from Sonic Freeriders is nearly identical to the one from Sonic Riders, but his top spike actually sticks up now. Hooray! That means he's S tier now. No, it doesn't. B tier. Also, I couldn't find like any images of this design, and I didn't want to take anyone's fan renders, so have fun with the T-posing model from the game. Okay, look, I like Sonic with a sword, but that's because I can still see that he's, you know, Sonic. This design is just an armored hedgehog. I think it's a bit too over-detailed, so into the B tier is where I'm putting Excalibur Sonic. Classic Super Sonic in 3D this time. And I'll just say it right now, this design isn't as bad as his normal form. I'm just kidding. It's better. I think I'll go B tier for now, because he looks pretty good in Sonic Superstars, and that's where I have the other classic Sonic in 3D design at. We don't talk about the Generations design. Time for the modern side of Ultrasonic. Once again, a design that I have nothing to go off of other than his design, and to be honest, my opinion hasn't changed at all since I've started writing this script, so yeah, B tier I guess. Now for an actually interesting Sonic design, Sonic as Link from The Legend of Zelda. I think the idea of Sonic dressing up as other characters from other franchises is really cool, so I think I'll put Link Sonic into the B tier. His hat looks kinda goofy, but that's also part of his charm I think. Plus he's going for the Link look. What's he gonna do, not wear a hat? Oh. Sonic as a Lego is something that I didn't expect to see when he was first announced, but here he is. I mean, there's really only so much you can do with a Lego, so this design won't be very high up on the tier list, but I think they did pretty good with what they were given to work with. Not really too much that could be improved here, but that's just kind of the nature of being a Lego. So, not really his fault that he's going into the C tier. Sorry Lego fans. I'm purely talking Sonic designs here, cause I do like me some good Legos. Take everything I just said about Lego Sonic, and rewind to hear me say it again, because that's how I feel about Lego Supersonic too, so C tier yet again. Now we have Supersonic from Sonic Forces. Well, this is just Supersonic, but again, so S tier? Not really much to say that I haven't already said, so S tier. Okay, so I wasn't kidding when I said I might have overcompensated for my lack of inclusions on the first tier list, so I made sure to cover all my bases, and here we have Hatsune Miku dressed as Sonic. Now, is this Sonic? Well, no. Unfortunately, Miku is not actually an anthropomorphic hedgehog in this design, but I'm gonna judge her based on her costume, rather than if she's actually Sonic or not, like I did for Sonic Man. So Miku Sonic, I will happily place into the B tier. I think she could have done more things to really sell the Sonic look, but as it is, well I think she has a pretty good Sonic costume here. I don't think any non-Sonic character would have been able to crack into the S tier just as themselves, so realistically, B tier is pretty good for her. Now for yet another non-Sonic Sonic, does that make sense? Well regardless, this time it's Morgana from Persona 5 dressed as Sonic. Seriously, I wasn't kidding when I said I made sure to get as many designs as I could. Morgana Sonic is, well, he's definitely dressed as Sonic I guess. Personal character biases aside, I think I'll place him into the C tier, which is lower than Miku, I know, but he's just wearing a Sonic onesie here, whereas Miku has some pretty decent thought going into her costume, so I give her some bonus points for it. His head is also like way too big, but that's just Morgana's head in general, so I guess I can't fault him too much for that. Here's the Sonic design that many of you may not know about, or maybe you do, I don't know you. This design is from a crossover episode of the TV show OK K.O., where K.O. meets Sonic and teams up with him to defeat Lord Boxman. Now, I haven't seen any episodes of this show, aside from this one, so if you want a better explanation of the show than that, well, I'm sure there's a YouTube review of it somewhere. I thought it was a pretty fun episode with a lot of Sonic references, but none of that has anything to do with Sonic's actual design here. Sonic's design takes on the art style of the show, which isn't one that I really love all too much. Plus he looks kinda short, almost like he's a hybrid between his classic, adventure, and modern designs, which now that I think of it, is actually an interesting take on a Sonic design, but its execution here doesn't really work too much for me. So I'll put Sonic from OKKO into the C tier, not because I hate the show or anything, but I think the design could have been better. Okay, look, Minecraft is one of my favorite games of all time, probably even a top 5 if I'm being honest. But do not let Minecraft Sonic within 100 feet of your location, or you will disappear. He does not give off good vibes, and looks more like something that Eggman would create, rather than being Sonic himself. So I think I need to put him into the D tier, which does pain me to do, but I have to. Or else I fear he might try to steal a different design spot in the S tier if he gets too close. I almost forgot this one. Movie Supersonic. Here I was getting all the different versions of Supersonic, and I almost forgot this one. But he's here now, and I think I'll put him into the B tier. This is yet another case of Supersonic getting bonus points over his base design, because he's just that awesome. And I think the movie designers had a lot more time to actually cook with this design, compared to the redesign, since they had actual time to do so. Now for these next two, I'm gonna group them together because I'm getting kinda tired of ranking a Sonic design and then ranking his super form right after but in the same tier. So for the Sonic outfits and Fall Guys, these are both getting a D tier. This is kinda another LEGO Sonic situation unfortunately, where I think these look about as good as they could for what they have to work with, but that doesn't mean I have to like them. I do use the Supersonic costume in Fall Guys whenever I play it, like once a year, but at least that's something I guess. Frontiers Super Sonic is the latest in a drastic series of changes in Supersonic's design, which is why I'm placing him into this strange and elusive S tier. Yeah, he's S tier. There was barely any change here from Forces, which had barely any change from Unleashed, so it shouldn't come with any surprise that this design is an S tier. And here, we have Sonic as a cookie. Yep, you heard that right. Cookie Sonic is being ranked on this tier list, but it's Cookie Sonic from Cookie Run Kingdom. Now, I'm not even gonna pretend like I have any idea of what this game is about, or how or why Sonic is a cookie, because I've never played this game before. So I'm just gonna place this design into the, let's see. I guess I'm a bit hungry right now. I could go for a Sonic cookie. Alright, yeah, this isn't too bad. I'll go with a B tier for Cookie Sonic, because of his design of course. It is now time to rank VTuber Sonic. All of history has led to this exact moment in time. So what do I think of it? Am I a VTuber hater? Well, I haven't exactly watched any actual VTubers, but that doesn't mean I hate them. And to prove it, I'll place VTuber Sonic into the S tier. But I guess that's just because his design is literally just modern Sonic, not because he's a VTuber, so never mind then. S tier design for sure, cause it's just modern Sonic. Sonic Prime's Sonic design is one that is so close to perfection, yet it gets ruined almost immediately because of the need to turn him into marketable merchandise. I'm of course talking about the fact that Sonic Prime Sonic is not able to have his normal gloves and shoes on for almost the entire show, because having 6 different versions of him with different gloves and shoes allows them to make more toys and sell them all separately as if they were entirely different characters. If he was just in his normal attire the entire time, this would be an S tier design because it's literally just modern Sonic. But he gets bumped down to A tier because he just can't keep the same shoes on the entire show. Now for a Sonic with clothing that I actually really like. Well, not just because of the clothes, but because his design is both modern Sonic and he has a really neat art style. This is of course Sonic from his own funeral, or I guess that time he got murdered. I really like this design, so I'm gonna put him into the A tier. Plus he kinda got murdered here, so I think the least I could do is put him into the A tier and show a little respect, right? Alright, don't hate me for this one. I know it's a mascot suit, so it's not gonna look good because of that. So I'll be nice and give it a C tier instead of a D tier. I was leaning towards D tier, I won't lie, but he's just a funny TikTok guy, so I guess that'd be a bit harsh. What do you know? Prism Sonic has the same issue that I have with Prime Sonic, which is that he's wearing these weird shoes and gloves instead of his normal ones. Purely from his design, I think he's an A tier, but I do think his animation and effects are really cool, but that goes for pretty much all of Sonic Prime, cause that show has some really awesome animation. But as I said earlier, this is a design tier list, not an animation one, so Prism Sonic gets an A tier from me. It's finally time for the last Supersonic design. This time it's Supersonic 2, or I guess Starfall Supersonic, if you're into that. This design is amazing. I know it's not all that different from normal Supersonic, but the blue eyes and red aura, which I don't see enough people talking about, are just great additions to Supersonic, so he easily goes into the S tier. A phenomenal Supersonic design. Sonic Frontiers comes in once again for our last Sonic design placement on this tier list, it being Cyber Supersonic for the final ranking. And this design is really cool. The Fleetway inspiration with the eyes and the fangs make this design really look like Sonic was going all out, also just because he said that. This is another Dark Sonic situation though, where we only see like 10 seconds of his actual design, so I think I'm gonna put Cyber Supersonic into the A tier. Was it an amazing moment getting to witness Supersonic go crazy with the cyber corruption? Well, yeah, of course it was, but I'm gonna try and not let that be the only thing that defines my ranking of this design, which is why I'm keeping him in the A tier. And that about does it. That's finally every Sonic design ranked, unless there's enough to make a part 3. Who knows, maybe I'll have to make one eventually, I'll just wait and see I guess. Remember though, if you want to make your own tier list of these Sonic designs, head down to the description because I'll have this exact tier list linked down there for you to make your own. So if you really hate my rankings in this video, well, I'm just a random guy making Sonic videos, so feel free to leave your own changes in a comment if you want to, but just remember to be respectful to other people. Other than that, thanks for watching me rant about random Sonic designs for the second time now, and if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and hit the subscribe button because you don't want to miss a part 3 of this tier list if I have to make one. So hit the bell while you're at it too. And with that, I'll see you next time.